Now, this is a style that I can vibe with. Hey, it's Liz, and it's Monday, and if you can't tell from my particularly dark attire, other than the fact that this is just my general, go-to outfit type thing, we are talking about kismesisitude in the continuation of the quadrants. I think that this is actually the hardest to explain, so I'm gonna do my best to summarize it, because I'm pretty sure that even my video about it from 2 years ago is in the explanatory department. Kismesisitude is basically, like, at its most straightforward level, a competitive relationship where you and someone who you don't necessarily hate, but you don't necessarily like, but you don't necessarily dislike. You just kind of always want to fight them in some way, shape, or form. You and one of your friends have a class together. You're always competing for who has a better grade. Not in an unhealthy way, not in a way that you couldn't say congratulations on doing better than me on this thing, but the competitive nature is still better. The biggest thing that I think is, misunderstood is that a lot of times people take a very destructive outlook on what kismesisitude is, often perceiving it as something fueled by straight up hatred and all of these really harmful negative emotions, when it's really more rather than being pushed by complementary traits and kindness and working together like the red quadrants would be, it is more pushed by, it's more pushed by negative feelings, but rather than working together positively towards bettering each other as a couple, it's more working together to better each other as individuals. Like someone who, because of this competitive relationship, is always pushing you to do better at things, whether that be grades, whether that be sports, or whatever. There's a multitude of ways that it can kind of form, but it's basically that one person that you are constantly in a productive competition with. Not a destructive competition where it's emotionally tiring you both out and you need to both chill out, but productive competition. Sometimes you can work together with a kismesis and that works out fine, you might still be taking shots at each other, but you can still work together as a team if it benefits both of you. Or if you are working towards the same goal, it would be counterproductive to work against each other, so it's not necessarily a bad thing to work together. But most of the time there is a lot of competing over who gets to be in charge or who is better at a certain thing, and it's kind of like that. Hardest to explain, like I said. How to acquire a kismesis. This is probably going to be the shortest, because I feel like most people aren't really built for kismesisitude. Because if you're a competitive person by nature, chances are you're not gonna want to have that one person that you must be better than, because you kind of feel like you have to be better than everyone, and that's not a productive outlook on life. But if you do want to have someone who's kind of always pushing you to be better, and you want to push someone else to be better in a competitive kind of way, and with Alternian society, which is the fictional planet in Homestuck, the purpose, the social and political purpose of a kismesis serves its whole own thing that I won't get into, because I don't think anyone here wants to have the talk about an alien species. So, for these purposes, we are going to refer to it like that, because that is probably best how it would translate into the way that human society works. Like with the other two quadrants, you find a friend, because yes, some level of friendship is kind of required, because that is what replaces the urge to kill someone with the urge to compete with someone, because I feel like that, hatred is literally wanting someone dead. Negative charged, productive feelings of competitiveness, on the other hand, that's this. And if that whole thing kind of starts to show, then it just kind of it's one of those things where it is what it is. I'm not doing a good job at explaining this. A lot like more religions, kismesisitude is kind of a heavily implied quadrant, especially given that it is not used in a physically way, the way that mateship translates more directly. It's really more of just a competitive thing, unless you want something else that's like between you and the person. But for this part, it's kind of more of an implied thing, where after a while of productive competition, basically, if you fit all of that stuff, then that's kind of, you know, like, I don't know. The idea of actively searching for a kismesis is a bit strange. I don't think it really works that way. I think that's like the one quadrant that you cannot actively seek out. Like, if you are going to find someone who kind of has some opposing traits to you in a way that's going to work you both to be better people through competition, that's just going to kind of present itself. But hopefully this video at least provides a bit better of an understanding. I think the biggest example of kismesisitude in Homestuck actually is between John and Terezi, which is when in my video on Why Religions a couple weeks ago, when I brought up the fact that, or when I brought up what Dave said about how, like, you know, humans still can feel these things, we just don't have words for them, when he was talking about how John feels about Terezi, because John was explaining, like, no, I don't think I have colligonous feelings for her. I think that she's just a bit silly and weird, and I don't know, like, I don't know, and that's just it. It's a very difficult feeling to explain, but, you know, as soon as they started talking, it was pretty much taking shots at each other, and, you know, it is what it is. It's like play fighting all of the time, consensually. And, like, the unhealthy alternative would be Terezi and Gamzee, which, like, no one even needs to get into, because that was a hot mess. That was so scatterbrained because, as ever, kismesisitude is hard to talk about. I don't really know how to explain it. Like, even as someone who has felt colligonous feelings, there's not really a good way to translate what that is, or how it feels, or any of that. It just kind of happens. But anyways, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you can provide slightly better verbalization as to what any of this is, leave it in the comments below. Or if you have questions, I will do my best to answer it, but yeah, no. You can follow me in the links in the description box below. Be a bro, share this video with another bro, and if you have not done so yet, subscribe, because there is one more quadrant to go.